You are not allowed it. We will now start the CD. Do not open the booklet until the CD tells you to.
IELTS listening, you will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You will hear a man talking first to a receptionist and then to a doctor at a health centre. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm a visitor to this area. I had a sporting accident a little while ago, and I'm still in some pain, and I wondered if I could see a doctor here.
Certainly, sir. We can take you on as a temporary patient. I'll just take down some personal details. Can I start with your name?
Yes, it's Peter. Peter Smith.
The patient's name is Peter Smith, so Peter Smith has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm a visitor to this area. I had a sporting accident a little while ago, and I'm still in some pain, and I wondered if I could see a doctor here.
Certainly, sir. We can take you on as a temporary patient. I'll just take down some personal details. Can I start with your name?
Yes, it's Peter. Peter Smith.
Right, Peter. And where are you staying here?
At 95 Cross Street.
And the suburb?
Walkley. That's Walkley.
And can I have a contact phone number?
It's 4689-5324.
Thanks. Okay. If you'll just wait down there, the doctor will see you in a minute.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 10.
Now, what can I do for you? It's Peter Smith, isn't it?
Yes, I had a sporting accident and was treated by a doctor at home, but I'm still in pain.
Right. Just need to ask you a few questions, first of all.
Fine.
Now, what sport were you doing?
I was playing tennis.
I see. And what was the nature of your injury? Did you hurt your elbow or wrist?
No, I had a sprained knee. That was the original problem.
Right. And when did this happen?
It was 3 weeks ago now, so that was June 18th.
Fine. And you say you had medical treatment?
Yes, the doctor said I didn't need an x-ray or anything, and he just told me to use an ice pack.
An ice pack. fine.
Yes, and I've been using a walking stick to help me get around.
Right, now, what problems are you experiencing at the moment? Are you having any problems walking?
Well, I can walk okay, but I still can't go upstairs, so I've been sleeping downstairs.
Now, you say your knee still hurts?
Well, no. Actually, it's recovering nicely. It's my back that's hurting me now. It really aches at night, and I can hardly sleep.
Well, there's a few different things I can suggest for that.
Great.
First, you should put your stick away, as that's probably the source of the problem. It'll be making you unbalanced.
Oh, really? I wish I'd known.
After that, I can prescribe you something to relax the muscles in your back.
Oh, sorry to be difficult, but I've had something like that in the past, and there were lots of side effects, and I had to stop taking it. Can you recommend anything else?
Well, yes, we do have a leaflet showing some exercises you can do to help yourself at home. If you do them every day, they'll soon be effective.
Great. I'll do that.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 3. Section 2. You will hear a radio announcer describing a city in New Zealand called Gisborne. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 on page 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Greetings, all you listeners out there. This is National Radio and I'm Kevin Lowe. This morning I'm going to tell you what's so special about the laid-back city of Gisborne. You'll hear a little bit about its past in the old days and a lot about what attractions it has to offer foreign and domestic visitors today. So listen up to learn more about what there is to do in this city and its surrounding region, where the economy is booming, but the lifestyle remains unspoiled. The Gisborne region is where the legendary canoe, sailed by Maori explorers, first landed in New Zealand about 1400 years ago, after its long and risky voyage over the sea. It is also the easternmost point of the country, which is what inspired its original name, Te Tairāwhiti, which in the Maori language means the coast where the sun rises across the waters. Gisborne was also the place where the European explorer Captain Cook first landed his boat upon discovering New Zealand, all the way from England back in 1769. Even in those early days, this district was a centre of horticulture, thanks to its fertile soil and subtropical climate. Soon after that, of course, the English settlers arrived, and soon Gisborne was shipping its products to larger settlements, such as Auckland and Wellington. This began with maize and root crops, but quickly expanded to butter, meat and wool from the agricultural settlements in the rich pastoral country near the famous Poverty Bay. Wharves and jetties were built beside the sea to service the coastal traders. Many of these wooden structures can still be seen on Gisborne beaches today. Today, Gisborne continues to export fresh produce to other regions of New Zealand. These wares include various award-winning cheeses, And, of course, the delicious lobsters and snapper fish harvested by hand from the local reefs and waters. As for exports to Asian markets, there's an increasing demand for the region's oranges and lemons. Gisborne is also becoming well known nationally and internationally as the source of some top-quality white and red grapes. Now, what's on in Gisborne? Well, first up, there's the annual Gisborne Concert, held every summertime. This is a great experience. It's held at Waiahikia Vineyard, which is near the traditional Maori meeting house, or marae of the same name. They bring in a piano player and opera singers who perform on a purpose-built stage in a kind of natural amphitheatre in the middle of the rows of grapes. It's a fantastic concert-like atmosphere, a really good night out. What to do on a rainy day? I'd suggest a visit to the show called The Beach, which is on in Gallery 1 at Tairawhiti Museum. It's a big display, so it also takes up the hall next to Gallery 1, and it's divided into different sections of the local culture, like surfing, camping, fashion, and so on. If you buy the book of the exhibition, there are some interesting photographs in there.
Before you hear the rest of the program, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 4. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
There's a lot else to see in Gisborne as well. You shouldn't miss the Hot Springs Reserve, which has warm natural mineral pools and little houses where you can stay amongst the bush. Being very secluded and private, this resort is most favoured by newlyweds, who often book a cabin for their honeymoon. The water is very therapeutic too. It's apparently good for your health to bathe there, though not recommended for pregnant women or the elderly. Around the corner is Mahia Peninsula, legendary as a New Year's Eve party destination for large crowds of university students after their graduation. The surfing and fishing here is excellent, and it's a safe spot for swimming and diving too. Now, also good for kids is taking a raft or jet boat ride on the Motu River. This sounds quite wild, doesn't it? But in fact, this activity is often used by local primary schools who take big groups of young children, several classes at a time, out here for a bit of fun while they're on their school camp. No parents required. You can have some time out, as this activity is a lot safer than it sounds and is carefully supervised by the rafting company. Finally, don't let's forget the Eden Woodlands Park, which is really a huge tree nursery. You can walk for hours here in the peaceful green surroundings, along a variety of tracks. There's even a very nice walkway made wide enough for those in wheelchairs, so that everyone can go along and enjoy Mother Nature at her best.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 3. Following instructions from their tutor, you will hear two economics students called James and Anna discussing a recent survey about the cost of buying a house in New Zealand. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25 on page 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
OK, for this week's assignment, you're going to assess the value survey on house prices. What were the survey's findings? Was it a reliable survey? Work in pairs, discuss what you've read, and generate some ideas for the assignment.
All right. Shall we work together, Anna?
Sure, James. So, first, how did the value survey actually measure the cost of houses? Because there are lots of ways of calculating it.
Well, it looked at all houses, didn't it? New and old. So it started with average incomes across the whole workforce and then worked out house prices in relation to that. I mean, to what people were earning.
So it's about affordability, what people pay in real terms. There's no information about the size of a house a typical family can buy.
No, that's a limitation. OK, then in the assignment we should give some background. I mean, what's different about the value survey?
Yeah, there's lots of these surveys every year. Value is actually one of the newer ones, but it stands out because it gives figures for a range of the largest urban centres, which none of the others do.
OK, good point. Then one finding was that New Zealand houses are relatively expensive. Why is that? Because most of them are built of wood, and that's quite cheap.
Yeah, it is. But the problem is there are too many regulations and restrictions about where you can build.
So if more building sites were created for housing, the costs would come down. That's it, isn't it? Because there are plenty of contractors ready to do the work.
Exactly. So, what else?
Well, what about transport? I mean, it's all very well to talk about new housing, but how are people going to get there? Is the survey proposing new roads, new rail networks? It should be a coordinated approach.
Yeah, but the survey didn't mention it. It's a missed opportunity because a commitment to funding public transport from the outset would improve air quality in our cities.
True. OK then, the next survey, what can we expect? It'll look at all the same places, right?
Exactly the same. But the next one will give an idea of the way prices are moving.
The government may have to think about how house prices are affecting society.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30 on page 7. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Then in the assignment, we need to evaluate how reliable the survey was. So we should look at some of the criticism made by commentators. OK, so there's the economist Andrew Coleman. He actually questioned whether the survey was money well spent, because it only looked at a single year in isolation.
A year when it was difficult to borrow money to buy a house, pushing up costs. So he thought the survey should consider a longer time frame. Did you get that article by Professor Massey? Because he's the leading authority on this topic.
Yeah, interesting. He realised the method used to calculate how much money people had didn't take savings into account. So actually, people looking for a house were richer than the survey shows, making houses cheaper in real terms.
All right. Then Richard Bernard, his criticism was original. He found out they were using quite outdated software to process all the information they gathered, which was crazy because they actually had the money available for an upgrade. So even though it was a highly regarded team of people, the way the statistics were interpreted was open to question.
OK, then Professor Lowndes. He thought the report was just badly written.
That's right. After all the work that went into gathering valid information, the finished report was just too long and weakly structured, and there was too much unnecessary detail.
And the last one, Maria Darling. She made a point about the properties that were evaluated.
There weren't enough of them, you mean?
No, it wasn't that. But they were never identified for privacy reasons. But she thought the actual properties used should have been revealed, you know. The process should have been transparent if the people are going to have full confidence in the survey.
Right. So a lot of criticism.
Yeah, But this sort of research is often controversial.
That is the end of Section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4 on page 8.
Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture on the ways that supermarkets use layout to increase sales. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40 on pages 6 and 7. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
We've been looking at marketing techniques which influence buying decisions. Some of these techniques are related to the way the products are presented in the store. For supermarkets, the store layout is not as random as it seems. Decisions have to be made about the arrangement of the aisles where the customers walk, and the shelves and so on where the products are displayed. The most common layout pattern is the grid layout, where parallel aisles are arranged in a rectangular pattern. Supermarkets like this layout as it allows them to utilise floor space efficiently by providing the greatest amount of display space proportionate to aisle space. Also, this layout helps to manage traffic flow as it encourages people to all walk in one direction. The main weaknesses of the grid layout are the monotony of rows of aisles and the fact that it is easier for customers to rush through the supermarket without lingering. Another layout pattern used by supermarkets is known as the free-form. Here, displays and aisles are arranged in a random pattern. The good thing about this layout is that customers tend to spend more time in the store as they wander about looking for different products. Its main weakness is the inefficient use of space, which means it is less cost-effective. Then we have the boutique layout, where everything is organised around a food specialty, such as the bakery. The advantage of this layout is that it divides parts of the store into smaller areas, which may be distinguished by changes in flooring or displays. A further advantage is that this style of layout is attractive to shoppers. Space, however, is not used economically, and it is therefore expensive. The choice of location of particular types of items in the store is also important. A supermarket's design aims to direct customers to the store's side and rear walls. Items typically displayed along the rear length of the store include meat and dairy products, since these appear on the grocery list of the majority of shoppers. This means shoppers must pass by a large number of other items to get to them. Items which consumers tend to spend more time considering before buying, such as cosmetics, are usually placed away from the busy areas so that people can look at them in comfort without feeling rushed. Products placed at the end of aisles are clearly visible, and therefore these locations provide a greater opportunity for shoppers to view the products. Consumers tend to assume that items on display at the end of an aisle are on sale, but this is often not the case. In fact, supermarket managers often place products which are not selling quickly enough in these positions. The placement of products on shelves is very carefully planned. Supermarket executives use computer-generated plans to help them place products on shelves in a way that ensures consumers spend more. The eye level of the average woman is 1 metre 60 centimetres off the floor, which is the height of the middle shelves, so the things which cost more are placed here, while cheaper products are placed on higher or lower shelves. Only items targeted at children break this rule. They are placed on the lowest shelves. Supermarkets also use a range of other marketing techniques to encourage consumers to spend more. It's no accident that in nearly every supermarket, the fruit and vegetable department is the first shoppers come to as they enter the store. These, together with flowers, produce a greater profit than any other department. After complaints from parents, many supermarkets no longer place popular products aimed at children on the shelves next to the checkout. Instead, you are most likely to find products aimed at impulse buyers, such as chocolate, magazines and other treats here. Many supermarkets have also expanded into non-food areas such as clothing, entertainment and stationery. These products often find...
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet. You have 2 minutes left. You have 1 minute left. Please stop writing and wait for your question booklet to be collected.